Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I want to talk about BOMT, Book of Many Things from the new Dungeons & Dragons canon hardback. I want to talk about BOMT, Chapter 10, the Sun chapter, and I want to talk about the Solar Bastion. Man, this is such a good, incredibly good canon hardback, D&D canon hardback. So the Solar Bastion is a organization that fights the chaos caused by the Deck of Many Things. I was like, what? Why did Dungeons & Dragons put this in there? And the reason why is the Dungeons & Dragons multiverse is so incredibly well crafted and so unique, incredibly unique, right? And so the reality is this entire book is a celebration of the Deck of Many Things, and it literally manifests the Deck of Many Things into our real Earth world. There are literally, I think there's at least 100,000 real Deck of Many Things, right? And the reason I say that is my humble opinion, and the reason why is I don't think any D&D canon hardback is printed since the 2014 D&D facet emerged. I don't think there's been a single D&D canon hardback that was printed less than 100,000 times. I think it was 100,000 copies minimum. And I actually think 1 million 2014 PHBs, DMGs, and monster manuals have been printed. All three of them. I think there's been 1 million of those, right? Since in 1 decade. Oh yeah, easily they printed 100,000 per year. In my humble opinion. So there's going to be 100,000 copies of the Deck of Many Things in our real world. And so this is literally the entire D&D canon hardback is this massive celebration of this Dungeons & Dragons magical item, right? And there's a lot to celebrate because, the Deck of Many Things is only 1 year less. It came out in 1975. D&D came out in 1974. Right? It's essentially the same age as Dungeons & Dragons itself. It's been there from the beginning. Right? And I would say, honestly, I think the Deck of Many Things is quite literally the most famous Dungeons & Dragons magical item. And the weird thing is, it's not even a Dungeons & Dragons magical item anymore. It's an item we have. It's a physical item. The Deck of Many Things is no longer this little idea that exists in D&D. It's literally a real thing that there's 100,000 copies of in our world. Right? It's pretty incredible. I cannot get over that, right? But Book BOMT Chapter 10, the Sun chapter, right? It's dedicated to the Sun card from the 22 iconics, right? Iconic cards in the most canon version of the Deck of Many Things. I guess they're all canon now. They've been printed in canon in the D&D canon hardbacks, so it's all canon now. But one of the smallest canon deck, right? But the D&D, the canon hardback itself, the Book of Many Things, actually says that this object is so dangerous in the multiverse that there is an entire, incredibly well-resourced, dangerous, powerful faction that does nothing but monitor it, and fight the chaos specifically caused by the Deck of Many Things. So, and they're good aligned. They're good aligned, right? Which then brings up the question: what is the alignment of Asteria and Uriel? Right? Now it's actually in the book, but I haven't read it recently, right? So the book answers the question, but if there's an entire organization of paladins that struggle against what you made, I think there's a good chance you're evil, right? So there's evidence within the Book of Many Things, Chapter 10, the Sun chapter, to indicate that Asteria and Uriel are actually villains, right? And so when Mackenzie DeArmas brought us the first autistic D&D character, there's a good chance that Asteria was not actually the first Dungeons & Dragons character to be autistic, but that the first Dungeons & Dragons character that is autistic is actually a D&D villain. Which you're like, wait a second, was that the representation they wanted? I don't know. That's a very good question, which also makes me believe that if I check the canon book, it would probably list, their alignment, and it might even list that they're good. But to me, if there's an entire organization of paladins who literally labor across the multiverse to stop what you created, that's a pretty good check, box check that you're a villain. Every single word you just heard is my humble opinion. What's important is when I hear your humble opinion, when you get in the comments and send your traffic. Please consider subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.